Welcome to the 30-Minute Hour. It's the personal development podcast for entrepreneurs and career professionals who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all-around good guy, Ted Fells.
Good evening, all. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Ted, doesn't it seem like we were just doing this a little while ago?
Like yesterday and the day before. Yeah, it never stops. It never stops.
So, Ted, you know what it is? Like, I aspire to be like our guest today, who, he does a podcast every single day. That's what.
You working on it? So you were working on it
every day.
Right.
He along with his podcast co-host, who we had on Monday. They're the hardest working men in show business.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Huge compliment. I really, really appreciate that compliment.
Yeah, now we definitely admire what you do, and we had Kevin Palmieri on Monday, and so you have to really feel special when we do these Thursday episodes, right? Because we know that this Thursday we have to get them on as soon as possible. We have to. When we do it, normally we do these Monday episodes. We're Monday at 7:00. When we do a Thursday episode, that means we really want to get this person on, and this will be another one of those excuse busting episodes.
Okay, excuse busters, right? So, Alan, anyone's got an excuse. There's certain episodes that we have where you can just crush the excuses, just throw that out the window. So, this is one of those episodes I'm hearing.
I'll tell you what, guys, you have the right person for that.
Good. Looking forward to it.
Well, as you can tell, this is not your everyday podcast. I mean, we do things a little differently on the 30-Minute Hour. You can watch us live, like many of you are watching right now, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. But later, you can go back and listen to this episode on Apple Podcasts, on not StreamYard, but on Spotify, and any of those other places that you like to listen to your podcast. And don't forget about the What Now Movement Facebook group. We post episodes there. Today is Thankful Thursday, so definitely reflect on all the things you have to be thankful for. But make sure you join the What Now Movement Facebook group and you check us out there. And don't forget to share the show.
Share the show.
That's right. Share the show. Our goal is to help you to laugh, learn, and level up. And if you feel like we've done that for you, please make sure that you share the show. Don't keep this excuse-busting episode to yourself.
And if you don't feel like we did that, share it anyway. So we didn't need to share the show. Share it anywhere.
You guys are funny. I like
Maybe
it.
they bring up a good point on that.
Maybe your friend will find that we help them to laugh and level up and everything else that Eric said. So
And everything else that Eric says.
That's
Laugh, learn, and level up. I like it.
there you go.
There you go. Yeah, just share it anyway. We'll try to do better the next time. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, give us one more chance.
One more chance.
And we'll get it right. Yeah.
That's right.
There you go. So, Ted.
Yes, Eric.
I got something that's on my mind.
Please share, Eric.
So today I want to talk to the good people out there about how to fearlessly face the future. How to fearlessly face the future. And I came across this study. It's known as the Legacy Project. And it was conducted by a professor at Cornell University. And he surveyed like over 1,200 senior citizens. They're living in this assisted living community. So he asked them to reflect on what their biggest life regret was. And Ted, you may be surprised by what they recorded as their number one response. So I'll go ahead and take you out of your suspense, and here it is.
Thank you.
Here's what they said. They said that it was the amount of time they wasted worrying about the future. That was their biggest regret. That's what they said. And kind of reminds me of what Mark Twain said, where he said, I've had a lot of worries in my life, and most of them never happened. Right. So it ties back to what they said. So this kind of brings up the question, knowing this, like, how do you fearlessly face the future? Knowing that this can be the biggest regret, how can you fearlessly face the future? I want to answer that question, but first I need your undivided attention. Now, a lot of you listen to us as you're driving. I need you to pull over to the side of the road right now. This is how serious that is. A lot of you when you're in the gym, you're working out, you're on the treadmill, I need you to press pause on the treadmill. So, Ted, is there anything else that we need people to do?
Alan, we need people to put the ham sandwich down. No matter how good that ham sandwich is, we need to put this down and focus in on what Erica's about to say, because it's about to get good.
Mm-hmm.
Put the ham sandwich down. How do you live? How do you fearlessly face the future? Here it is. You have to remember this. On your deathbed, you will regret the risks you didn't take more than the ones you did.
100%.
Wow.
You have to think about that. When you're on your deathbed, you're going to regret those risks that you didn't take. You're going to regret not going for it more than the ones you did. You have to remember that. You want to fearlessly face the future. And I bring this up specifically just because our guest today, he had a near-death experience that hammered this point home for him. So let's go ahead and introduce him at this time. So he was involved in a nearly fatal car accident at the age of 26. And this motivated him to question his entire life and its meaning. He searched for answers and found two of the brightest lights that he'd ever seen. Bronnie Ware's book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And then he was inspired by Tony Robbins' TED Talk. And in that moment, he decided to go all in on holistic self-improvement. His purpose is to help people navigate their lives and design a life they love living on their own terms. He's the host of the Next Level University podcast with over 770 episodes. They may be past 900 now. They do them all the time. He may have done like 5 days.
50 yesterday. You're right.
They may have gone on a podcast marathon yesterday. So maybe you can tell us the actual number.
It's 7,562. No.
I knew it was up there. I knew it was up there. But now he's also given over 100 speeches and thousands of hours of coaching and consulting. Bottom line is he is somebody. So please join me in welcoming to the 30-Minute Hour podcast, Alan Lazaros.
And the crowd goes wild. You guys are funny.
Yes.
Thank you guys for having me. Seriously, this is already a riot. I'm having fun. Again, laugh, learn, and level up. Obviously, leveling up is very congruent with our podcast, Next Level University. There's always a next level. I'm here to help you get there. And let's optimize for fulfillment. I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome to the show. And, I do a lot of things on feeling and instinct. I just remember when we were talking several weeks ago about possibly coming on the show, and the things you were saying in your story, I was blown away. I'm like, oh, definitely. We've got to get him on the show. So I'm glad we were able to make this work. So let's roll back the clock. I want to make sure everybody has the perspective and the backstory. So we know you had the near fatal car accident, but prior to that point, what was your life like? What was a typical day in the life like for you before the accident?
So I'll be vulnerable right up front. I think it was a little bit on autopilot. I adopted a pleasure-centered paradigm. I thought life was about having fun. And I've always been an achiever. For sure. I was taught from a very young age to aim high. And if I aim high, I'll have choices. My mom gave me the best lesson I've ever gotten. Still to this day, I'm 33 years old. I was 7 years old. And she said, Alan, life is about choices. If you aim high, you'll have choices. Alan, you can be a CEO or you can be a farmer. I'm going to love you either way. But if you aim high and you're a CEO, you can wake up one day and decide to be a farmer, but it doesn't necessarily work the other way around. I told that story once, guys, and someone got mad at me. They're like, my aunt's a farmer. They work so hard. I was like, whoa, take it easy. My mom was just trying to explain something to a 7-year-old, right? It's okay. So if that
can you go back to that? That was profound. Can you say that again?
Which
about
one?
The farmer and the CEO. I thought that was profound. Can you repeat that?
I appreciate it. My mom always had a great way of explaining things to me. So I'm 7 years old. She said, Alan, life is about choices. Aim high and you'll have choices. Alan, you can be a CEO or you can be a farmer. I'm going to love you either way. But if you decide to aim high and become a CEO, you can wake up one day and just decide to go farming. It doesn't necessarily work the other way around. And again, yeah, someone got upset by that and offended because apparently their aunt is a farmer. But I hope no farmers are offended.
Nothing against the farmers, but
all our sponsors that are farmers have just
they've just dropped you guys.
We're out of here,
guys. We can't air this. No,
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. To answer your original question, though. So what was the original question? I'm sorry, guys.
So, like, what were you doing? Like, what was a typical day in your life before the car accident?
Gotcha. Yeah. It was a little bit on autopilot. I grew up in some adversity and some challenges, but I think that if you guys have read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I'm sure you both have, he talks about the different paradigms, right? There's a church-centered paradigm, and there's a work-centered paradigm, and there's a family-centered paradigm, and what he talks about eventually is a principle-centered paradigm. I live a principle-centered, mission-centered paradigm now, but I didn't always. And so I used to live a pleasure-centered paradigm. So to be completely honest, I was an achiever who had big goals and dreams, but who subconsciously was on autopilot living from a pleasure-centered paradigm. So I thought life was about achieving and about having fun. So naturally I achieved a lot and I had a lot of fun. And it wasn't until 26 when that paradigm really shifted.
And so you have an MBA in computer engineering. Mm-hmm. So like, what were you doing to earn a living at this time, right before this accident?
Yeah, so I worked for an industrial automation company called Cognex. I had a bunch of different jobs after college. And the computer engineering degree is my bachelor's. My master's is in business administration. So I have a computer engineering degree with a combination of an MBA. And the reason why, actually, is because in 2011, Walter Isaacson came out with a book called Steve Jobs. I remember being in macroeconomics class, and I saw Steve Jobs' 2005 Stanford address. Super famous speech. It's on YouTube. I love it. Yeah. Favorite speech of all time. And that includes Tony's TED Talk, by the way. But so I remember literally getting up from class, like in the middle of the lecture, and like, I'm done with college now. And I just went and started a company called Campus Libre with some friends of mine. That ended up falling out. Then I went into corporate America, did some job hopping, eventually ended up in a company called Cognex. I was working as an outside sales engineer where we sold industrial automation equipment into huge manufacturing facilities. So I managed a territory of all of Western New England. So Connecticut, Western Massachusetts, and Vermont was my territory. So I was driving around as a sales engineer.
Okay. And then you have this near fatal accident. So like, how did that impact you and shape you into the person you are now?
So when I was 2 years old, my father passed away in a car accident when he was 28 years old. Mm-hmm. And so when I say I got in a near fatal car accident at 26, it wasn't, for me, it really, really shook me because I grew up my whole life hearing stories about my father, stories about John. And so for me, it wasn't like, oh, okay, that was a fender bender, no worries. So I've seen the pictures of my father's car. And I usually in my speeches show pictures of my car because it was like a pretty bad car accident. Fortunately, I was driving a 2004 Volkswagen Passat. I used to call this car the Tank, German engineered steel trap of a car. I used to call it the Tank. And so we were okay, both airbags deployed. But like, how did that shape me? At 26, I think I had my midlife crisis at 26. That's basically the shortest version. I basically questioned the way I was living from a very young age. I had grown up around alcohol. I had done a lot of drinking in the tail end of high school, and then I did drinking in college, and then in corporate, alcohol was a part of my life as well. And I was always into being the best at what I do, always an achiever. snowboarding, basketball, video games, semi-pro gamer. Like I was always the best at doing. I always wanted to be the best at everything I do, but I wasn't as focused on my own personal growth. And so at 26, I channeled that desire to that excellence desire and that achievement desire back into me of being the best version of me. And ever since then, it's been off to the races. And that's when I went all in on, like the story said, holistic self-improvement, health, which is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Wealth, which is how you make your money. In other words, do you love what you do? How much do you make? Is that increasing or decreasing over time? And then where do you invest it? Where do you invest your capital? Where do you spend it, invest it? And then love, which is like your intimate relationship, immediate family, extended family, business partner, clients, colleagues, mentors, mentees, friends, your relationships. And so those are the three major areas of life that I realized, okay, I'm making a ton. So at 26, I was making almost $200,000 a year. I paid off all my school loans, 84 grand off in 1 year in 2014. And I had all this extra capital. I was a young guy making tons of money, and I had a beautiful girlfriend, and I had tons of college friends, corporate friends, high school friends. I had an amazing job and this promising career ahead of me, but I wasn't focused on self-improvement. I was focused on achievement, and there's a big difference between those two. And so that's the paradigm that really shifted.
Now, I can relate to your stories in a lot of ways because I have a similar story. When you get to the point where you achieve certain things, but you don't feel fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes it takes that wake up call to really get you to really refocus and dig deeper. So now it's interesting. So in your bio, it's mentioned that one of the books that really inspired you was this book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Mm-hmm. Talk about that. What did you learn from that?
Yeah. So her name's Bronnie Ware. She's an Australian woman, and we've interviewed her. So I got to meet her, which was so cool, which wasn't until 4 years later. So it wasn't until 4 years later I got to interview her. I was such a fanboy on that episode. But anyways, so at 26, I found that book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, because I was filled with all this regret. And so naturally that primed my reticular activating system to notice that book, pick it up. So she worked in hospice for 8 years with the terminally ill. And similar to the way you opened this episode, she saw these common regrets over and over and over again. And ever since I read that book, I've had a flashcard in my pocket with all 5 regrets. I'll be honest with you, it's actually right over there. It's not in my pocket. The first regret of the dying, according to Bronnie Ware, is I wish I had lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. And again, I always had big goals and dreams, but they weren't necessarily as true to myself. I think I was clear on the vision, and I've always been very future-oriented. Again, aim at your future fearlessly, as you mentioned in this episode. But I wasn't as clear on my core values. And because of that, I think I was like lost. I didn't. It's like, here's an example. Imagine you intend to be a multimillionaire. Great. But if you don't have core values and you're not clear on them, you might do it selling cigarettes. That's not going to fulfill you. Right. And so I worked in industrial automation, and nothing against robotics or industrial automation, but like that was taking away jobs. So the better that I do, the less jobs there are for people who need them. And if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so now I flip that on its backside, and now I help empower people to create their own jobs. Now I coach entrepreneurs literally all over the world. And so I wasn't living in my calling is what it comes down to. And yes, I was unfulfilled. And so that book taught me that I was going to be regretful if I didn't start living from starting with the end in mind and realizing I'm not living a life true to myself. I need to start shifting that. So that's what I learned from that book. There's 4 other regrets as well. But that main one, that number one, I had big time. And I'm just grateful that I found it at 26.
And really quick, can you quickly cover what were the other 4 regrets?
I haven't said them in a while, but the second one, one of them is I wish I stayed in touch with my friends. That's one of them. One of them is I wish I had the courage to express my true feelings. That's another big one. The courage to express my true feelings. One of them is I wish I hadn't worked so hard, which, by the way, I got to ask Bronnie. I said, is that because of number one? Because I love hard work, but only because it's in my calling, right? So she said, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, which is really cool. And then the last one, what was it? I'd have to get the flashcard for the last one. But the first two are the big ones that she noticed most. The first one, I wish I lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. The second one is I wish I had the courage to express my true feelings. And that I wish I hadn't worked so hard, I really do just believe is because of number one. Because if you're in your calling, I don't think hard work is going to be something you're going to regret personally.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't even seem like hard work if you're in your calling.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's fulfilling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so this kind of next question is kind of along the lines of what we're talking about. So we always, Ted and I, we come across people that have this idea for a venture, but they say, hey, it's a pandemic, so I'm just going to wait until things get back to normal before I start moving on it. What advice do you have for the person that's saying that?
Oh, that's a very limiting story. What's my advice? My advice is this. You are the through line of your own life. And by through line, I mean, even this episode, the through line is, we said it right up front, facing the future fearlessly. Okay? You are the through line of your own life. And I don't care if it's the economy crashes or it's going well. I don't care if, imagine if your judgmental relatives were to change. How much would that change your life? At the end of the day, you're lightning in a bottle for your life, and you can't wait to take action for things to be perfect on the outside, because quite frankly, they never are. And rather than just some motivational quip, let me try to give something tangible. Right now, we have a 13-person global team, and I personally want to have the most peak performing virtual team in history. I told our team the other day, I want people to study us in business school eventually. How did they do this? Because I think our systems are great, but it's not perfect. I woke up today struggling. This is my 8th call or 9th call of the day. It's 7:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and nothing's ever perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. At the beginning of COVID, the gyms closed down, and I remember I was actually at a private gym with one of our close friends. His name's Mark. He has a podcast as well. And me, Kevin, and him were talking about how the world was kind of getting flipped upside down. And we literally, I remember it like it was yesterday, we were sitting at a table, we pulled out our notebooks, and we said, we are coming out of this thing better than we went in. How are we going to do that? And to me, that's what made the difference. We're sitting there talking about how to courageously lean into the future, and we're literally writing down what we're going to do. What's the game plan? All of us. And it's that's the difference, is we're not going to wait for the storm to pass. We're going to learn how to, I know it's, a motivational quip, but we're going to learn how to dance in the rain. And there's never going to be a good time to go to the gym. There's never going to be a good time to have children. There's never going to be a good time to buy a house. There's never going to, you can't wait. I think what's important is that I grew up in adversity, right? So father passed away at 2, had a stepdad from 2 to 14, and I'll share this with you as well. We went from literally our family was creating a custom yacht to I got free lunch at school when my stepdad left because we had such low income. So the early part of my life, my stepdad made good money. And when he left, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was a lunch lady, a cook at a school. She didn't make good income. So I got half off lunch and eventually free lunch because our income was so low. And luckily I got financial aid for college and all that. But that built character too, by the way, at 14. But the point I'm making is that I grew up in an environment that was definitely stormy, rocky, adversity, not normal, right? But what stayed the same was me and my belief in myself, my aiming high, and my resilience of just persistence. I mean, my first engineering course, I literally failed. And this isn't about me, but for anyone out there watching this, why are you waiting? What are you waiting for? I'm going to go to the gym after this. It's going to be 8 p.m. I have a lot of other things that are really important to do, but none that are more important than my own physical fitness. And, I don't care if there's construction on the way. I don't care if a meteor would have to hit this house for me not to go to the gym tonight. And this is supposed to be an excuse busting episode, right? I'm telling you guys, I'm going no matter what.
Busting.
Right? I'm going no matter what because it's a priority. And I think that if you're out there and you're waiting for the storm to pass, you're going to be waiting forever.
It's interesting when we talk about the the pandemic, and I just think that, when you think about a lot of the young people, right? The people that, had some of the, things didn't happen for them as far as the senior year and proms, and some of the seniors didn't play ball or whatever, right? And, graduations and all of that. I think there's going to be some real strong people that are going to come out of that, right? Because I think a lot of us, we have this thing where there's these expectations that things are just going to be that way because they always have been, right? And I think that in the way it is, with those that dealt with this, they had to pivot. They had to, okay, you're going to get some disappointment, right? Like some of us had to deal with disappointment as kids, and some they never had to deal with any disappointment. Like the story that you just shared of your own situation growing up. And, hey, you went from things are great to things were not so great. Well, some have always had things great like that. And then when they experienced a challenge in life later in life, they lost a job, or they didn't get an opportunity or something. It was just, the worst thing ever. But some of these, a lot of these young people that they went through, having to sit in the house, right? Not being able to go to school their senior year, not being able to graduate. A lot of those things I think that are going to make for some really, like you said, resilient individuals, as they, go into their adult years.
Yeah. And that's a huge virtue, resilience. It's one of our core values in our team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you feel like that's something that just was in you? Because a lot of people, they go through things similar to what you went through, and they just kind of stick their head in the sand. But you just keep pressing forward. Is that something you feel that just is innate, or where does that come from within you?
It's interesting. I wish that I could answer that, and I'll try my best. I do think that some of it might be innate. I've always been my resilience and my pain tolerance. I'll give you guys an example. I'll tell a quick story. So we're up at Point Sebago, which is up in Maine, and my sister and I, there was cross country running, and there was basketball, and there was tennis, and there was all these different competitions. And my sister and I won a bunch of them, right? A bunch of kids in Point Sebago and I did cross country, and it was basically, it wasn't cross country. It was like you had to do a mile on the beach, around the lake, around one of the lakes, and it was in the sand, and running in the sand is brutal. And I don't run. I wasn't like a runner or anything. At least I hadn't been running lately other than playing basketball and just being a kid. And I won, and I crushed all the other kids. And my mom, she said, I don't understand. Like, you don't even run. Like, how did you beat all the other kids? And I said, Mom, I can suffer more than anyone else. And honestly, guys, I'm telling you, and I told you this at the beginning before we even got live, like 770 episodes, it's easy to say, right? So easy to say.
Yeah.
Oh my God, nothing short of brutal. Nothing short of absolutely brutal to show up that many times. And these aren't like episodes where we don't prep. This isn't like, hey, let's just jump on the mics and talk. This is like really valuable, conscious effort. And so I don't know if I've always been that way, but I will tell you this. It's only ever increased over time, because I think adversity is your advantage if you have self-belief and self-worth. If you don't have self-belief, adversity will not be your advantage. But if you have high goals and you have self-belief, it'll just make you stronger, physically stronger, mentally stronger, emotionally stronger, spiritually stronger. My favorite part about my business partner, Kevin, is that his father left when he was young as well. He never had a father. He met his father for the first time when he was 27. We spend Father's Day together now. And we want to be the strong, character-driven, heart-driven male role models that we never had, who can be vulnerable and who can be honest and sincere and who don't have this masculine front of, how awesome they are, right? And my favorite part about Kevin is that he came from very, very, very humble beginnings, you know, in his friend group. And he says this on the podcast, like, I was the one who was supposed to go to jail. I was the one who wasn't going to make it, you know, and look at him now. Right. And so I don't know if resilience, I was born with it or if I developed it. I think it's probably a combination of both, but I will tell you that it can be developed. And I've seen some of our team members go from pretty soft to very resilient over time. It's just like a muscle. You got to train it in the gym, but you got to do it proactively. And when things get hard, you have to sit there and go, you know what? Okay. There's a reason not everybody's in shape. There's a reason why not everybody is in the NFL. There's a reason why, you know, success is challenging, is because success is challenging. And you have to understand that it's the hard that makes it great. And so the last thing I'll say on this question, if everybody woke up tomorrow, I used to be a fitness coach, fitness competitor, and fitness model. And I remember I had all these fitness clients. And I would ask them this question. I would say, what's the most desired physical attribute in any physique? And everyone has the same exact answer because everyone knows the answer. It's abs. And I said, why? Because it's the hardest to get and even harder to maintain. I said, okay, imagine a world where everyone woke up tomorrow with ripped 6-pack or 8-pack abs. And I say, is it still valuable? And everyone's like, oh, no. Valuable is rarity. Extraordinary, exceptional, right? Rarity is valuable. And so if you're out there listening to this, you're already a rarity because not a lot of people watch personal development things. Not everybody is trying to improve every single day. And so that's how I would answer is like, you can become more resilient. You can become more disciplined. You can become more virtuous. You can become more intelligent. You can become, you know, more capable. You just have to work on it and incrementally over time. And so I think, yes, I've built it incrementally over time, but you got to believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to have to try to get around people who believe in you.
Alan, I'm about to run through this wall.
Let's go.
If I was not in my own home and I have to share it, like I am so pumped up right now. I'm ready to run. I'm ready to run through this wall. This has been good, man.
Appreciate you, Ted. Appreciate you.
Did you hear what he said? He said it's the hard that makes it great.
True.
That's 100% true.
Wow.
No, that's excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I want to talk about, so you had the accident, you were working. So how do you transition into this full-time entrepreneur with Next Level University?
Just kind of what I just told you. So went all in on personal development, really channeled all my energy away from achievement for a little while and into my own self-improvement. Started a little company called Lazaros LLC, super original. And my slogan, yeah, right. My slogan was what you'll never learn in school, but desperately, in all capital, need to know. Because the way I see it is there's two causes of all human suffering. There's ignorance and there's apathy. Ignorance is like putting leeches on you to cure a disease, right? It's just ignorant. We used to do it. The world used to be flat, blah, blah, blah. Ignorance. You don't know any better. If you want to do better, you have to know better. And that's knowledge, okay? The second one is apathy. You either don't know enough, like I already talked about, or you don't care enough, right? So, for example, exercise. We all kind of understand if you eat more calories than you burn, you're probably going to gain weight, okay? It's just like when you spend more money than you make, you're probably going to be broke, right? But yet we don't care enough, in my opinion. We don't have the tenacity to actually execute. So we either need to care more or we need to know more, and usually it's both. And so hopefully everyone will leave this knowing more and caring more. But after 26, I started a little company called Lazaros LLC. My target demographic was getting into schools to teach what's not being taught in schools. Turns out that's a bad business model because what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know, I can't go into schools bashing schools, right? And so this is nothing against schools, but I started a little podcast. It was called Conversations Changed Lives because I wanted to figure out what made the difference in my life going through all this adversity, not having a ton of guidance other than aim high and you'll have choices, which was really good, versus some of my peers who, quite frankly, are very lost and not successful. And so I realized it was incredible conversations with incredible people. I met so many incredible people. And I always have been obsessed with deep conversations. If you guys wanted to talk about the weather or, cars or vacation that you're going to take, I'm telling you, I will just shut off. Like, I just don't care. I don't care. I'm not going to pretend to care. I care about human development. I care about philosophy. I care about economics. I care about business, right? But I don't really care about day-to-day small talk. Small talk is for the birds, at least in my opinion. So all my life, I've had deep conversations with incredibly brilliant people, especially in college. And so I started a little podcast called Conversations Change Lives. And I met up, Kevin was on my show because he liked to go deep. I went on his show. He had a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast. Hyperconscious means to be acutely aware. So like digging deep. Again, that's the theme, dig deep. And then eventually we partnered up, and it was the Hyperconscious Podcast meets Conversations Change Lives, which is the worst title of all time. Right? And we rode that train for a good 20 or so episodes. Eventually we stayed with the Hyperconscious Podcast for about 400 episodes, and then we rebranded around 400. And now we are Next Level University, a global top 100 show with listeners all over the world. And that's the story. That's the story. But the through line on that is deep conversations with incredible people all over the world about things that matter, and work ethic.
So 770 plus episodes. And I ask you this question as well. How many episodes was it before you felt like you were getting traction or making progress, having success?
Great question. I didn't know this until recently because Kevin and I gave a speech and he brought this stat up because he tracks our analytics, right, every single day. And I found this out recently. So in our first year of the Hyperconscious Podcast, we had 1,052 listens. Okay. We had more than that in one day this past week.
Wow.
So in a full year, granted, we were only doing an episode a week back then, right? So now we're doing 7 episodes. But this is the cool part, and I want everyone really to hear this. 80% of the results happen in the tail 20% of the journey. So, okay, we've been podcasting. Let me get on screen here. We've been podcasting for 5 years. In the last year, we've had more success than the previous 4 combined.
Wow.
Okay. And by the way, next year will be the same. And the year after that will be the same. It's called the bow tie. At the beginning of any journey, especially entrepreneurship, the level of effort in is level 10 for 0 return. Eventually it's 9-1, 8-2, 7-3, 6-4, 5-5. Holy crap. It's starting to work. Interesting. Eventually it flips. Eventually it's like, wait a minute, I'm actually putting in not that much effort. Why is everybody trying to get my time? Right? It starts to flip. See, Coca-Cola, Sam's Cola. No one knows who Sam is. You're going to get Coca-Cola. And you're not going to get your car fixed at Coca-Cola. You're going for a soft drink. If I asked you guys what's a great hike near you, you'd all say the same damn answer. Why? Because that hike got famous over time. Be a brand, be a business, be consistent. It's the hardest thing in the world. But if you can be consistent, remember, every human decision is based on certainty. You guys had me on because you're certain I'll be good at this because I've done it 770 freaking times, right? Right? And you should not have had me on, when I was 22, right? So that's kind of my point is success comes through consistency. I just wish people knew that.
Okay. So Kevin,
Ted's
we had
like,
Kevin
shit.
on.
I got Ted. Ted's locked in, man.
Man, let me tell you, I'm going to get your number after this. I'm going to be calling you. You'll be like, it's Ted again. It's Ted again.
Yeah.
What's going on, man? I need you to talk to me, man. I need that. I need some
Sounds
of that
good.
motivation.
My consulting hours are every other Thursday from 2 to 5. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
I'm gonna call you at 6.
Yeah, sounds good. You'll get the bitch button. You know. You guys are fun. I love it. Oh, it's Ted again. Click.
I'm like, yeah, you can call me anytime. That means I'm gonna answer anytime.
That's what I tell people all the time. Right.
You have reached the life-size decoy of Alan Lazaros.
That's right. I'm not here.
It's a hologram. Yeah, it's funny.
I'm not here.
I'm at the gym, Ted. You know what I mean?
I'm at the gym.
Yeah.
That's one thing I will say about you and your partner. You guys, boy, make somebody feel like, man, I'm not getting that cheeseburger because you guys are always talking about working out. The other day is I'm going to work out. I'm going to go work out. So you guys got to meet you at the gym one day. See how you guys are doing it in there.
Would love to. I appreciate it. That's I'm glad we can motivate.
So Kevin said something during our episode that is just stuck in my brain, and I said, you know what? When Alan comes on, I'm going to ask him about this. Mm-hmm. Here's what he said. Right? He said that, you know what? I feel that Alan's time is more valuable than mine is in this business.
That's what he said.
Because Alan is the visionary.
That's what he said.
And so, yeah, Alan's time, I understand my role. He said, I'm the nuts and bolts guy, but Alan is the visionary. So I feel like Alan's time is more valuable than mine. Can you comment on that?
First of all, I appreciate that he said that. And that takes an unbelievable amount of humility to say that. I think the best way I can describe this is it's contextual, though. I think there's 4 types of value. That's the way I'll describe this. This is the best I can do. So we're all intrinsically the same value as a human being, right? Our intrinsic value is the same. And I think that's important to note. But if it comes to business, right? Steve Jobs' time is more valuable than mine. And to not think that is called being naive, right? Mm-hmm. And RIP to Steve Jobs. He's a hero of mine. I've got stuff behind me. But Bill Gates' time is more valuable than mine, genuinely, in business, in the context of business, right? Yeah. And so you better pay Michael Jordan more money than you do Jeremy Lin. Otherwise, you're not running an effective business, right? Yeah. And so it all comes down to knowing your value in the context of your own arena. And so the other 3 types of value, I think we overlook because we have these big hearts. And the other 3 types of value are the value to the marketplace. And you've got to understand the difference. Intrinsically, us 3 are the same exact value. But I guarantee you, each of you are way better than me at something. And in that arena, you are more valuable than me. Okay? When it comes to the visionary, strategic, long-term thinking, reverse engineering the finish line, yes, my time is more valuable than Kevin's. It is what it is. When it comes to understanding how to start and grow a podcast specifically, his time is more valuable than almost anyone I've ever met. Okay? And also fitness as well. He's jacked. Okay. So the other 3 types of value: passive value, primary value, active value. And again, intrinsic value is the first one. So passive value is your body of work, right? If you hire Leonardo DiCaprio for your movie, you better pay him more than someone who's a no-name because of his body of work. He has proven. So Leonardo DiCaprio goes out to a bar and says, hey, who wants to party at my house? Most people are going. Alan Lazaros does it. Hey, who wants to party at my house? Yo, who's this weirdo, right? Nobody knows you, man. You haven't added any value to my life yet, right? Unless they listen to NLU, the podcast, in which case they'd be like, I'll go, right? Building a relationship through passive value. Passive value means you don't actually have to be there to be adding value. So I'm writing a book right now called Optimizing for Fulfillment. When that book is published, which will be anywhere from this year to like 12 years from now, because I don't know I'm going to finish the damn thing, and you're reading it, that's passive value. I'm adding value to someone's life without having to actually be there. Okay, so moving on from passive value. Primary value is the fire in your heart. Primary value is your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual development. Okay? If I spend my whole life building up my home and redoing the kitchen and redoing the bathrooms and doing the landscaping and redoing the roof and making it better, you better believe that home's going to be worth more than someone who has frat parties with beer spilt over the carpets every day. Okay? But when we talk about human beings, it's we focus on the intrinsic thing. And when it comes to personal development, it's the same as renovating your house, right? Some homes are worth 2.5 million. Some homes are worth 5 million. Some homes are worth 200,000. It is what it is. Okay. And when it comes to humans, it gets a little scary because it's contextual and you don't want to ever be, I never, ever, ever want to come off as elitist or anything like that. What I'm saying is that each of us is super valuable in a certain regard. And we're all intrinsically equal, but to the marketplace, we're not. Tom Brady playing basketball is not valuable. Michael Jordan playing baseball also is not. We found out, right? Okay, so you should not pay Michael Jordan $20 million a year to play baseball. You should pay him $20 million a year to play basketball. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Last one. So you have intrinsic value, passive value, primary value. Next one's active value. Active value is what I'm doing right now. I'm hopefully adding value to you guys' lives and anyone who's listening live. This is active value because it's in real time. And so I spend most of my life trying to optimize my time because at 26, I almost died. And I realized that I don't have a lot of time, potentially. Life's short. And I want to live to 120. But even then, if you crunch the numbers on that, guys, average life expectancy is 72 globally. If you're female, it's like 73, 74. If you live 100 years on this planet, 365 days a year, that's only 36,500 days. If every one of you listening, watching, only had $36,500 and you could never make another dollar, how carefully would you spend that money? See, I was on the phone recently, a guy by the name of Brian. He wanted me to do this social media collab thing, and it was for a good cause, and Brian's a good guy. I said, Brian, I'm going to stop you right there. With all the love in the world, all the respect in the world, I do three things. I podcast, I speak, I coach, and I consult. And if it's not in one of those buckets, I'm not interested. Okay? I'm 33. Guys, when I was 16, I was doing a bunch of stuff, and I was making choices that were not discerning, and I ended up with regret. Okay? So now I'm living in my calling, and I'm doing that every single day, and I do 10 out of 10s of alignment. And the reason why I'm talking about this when it comes to value, and Kevin and that comment about my time being more valuable, what he really meant is Alan's time is more valuable in the context of the vision of our business. And I appreciate the compliment. But that's important to understand. And for everyone listening, you got to understand what your real value is. When I was 16 years old, I made $7.25 an hour in Rhode Island. I was a cart kid and a busboy. I was not worth more than that. It's okay to say that. I was 16. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I painted up in Maine for $8 an hour under the table. I was 19 years old, right? Now I make $250 in 1 hour, sometimes thousands when I speak. Why? Is it because I'm intrinsically more valuable? No. It's because I worked on myself to become more valuable over time. And that's what all of us can do. But a lot of people are entitled of like, oh, I deserve. No, you don't. You work and improve and grow, and the marketplace gets to dictate what you get paid.
Wow! Now, all great points. This is definitely one of those. This is definitely one of those episodes that I'm going to have to listen to again when I'm in the gym, so I can really get some of the nuggets that you just dropped on our audience. So, hang on real quick.
I'm surprised Ted's still here. Hasn't ran through the wall, man.
Man, I thought about it, but my shoulder's a little jammed up, man. So
yeah, he's got to stretch first.
Yeah, But I'm in though. I'm all in.
Go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
So now you had the success. So I want you to talk about the success. You went through the struggle. You've gone through all these episodes. Talk about how things are for you right now.
The best way to describe it is it feels a little bit like our business is a freight train getting ahead of me. And I've said that to Kevin recently. I told the whole team recently, I said, listen, I'm challenged. I've never played at this level before. And when you get to the NBA, right, it's not easier. It's actually harder, you know, in most regards. So I'm very grateful for all the success and the blessings, but it actually is more challenging. That's the weird part about success. And I think that the misbelief that when I get success, then my life will be easier. It's absolute crap, guys. Anyone who's super successful will tell you it only gets more challenging, right? Like, okay, Bill Gates makes what, $11 million an hour or something crazy. His life's not easier, right? Yeah. I mean, it is in certain regards, right? In certain regards it is because he doesn't have to do some of the more mundane stuff, but he has to think and he has to run a huge company and he has to run a whole foundation and he's solving problems in poverty all over the world, right? So, and he's also, I think, getting divorced. But the point is that this myth that when X happens, life will be easier, it's a myth. My life is better and the quality of my life is better because the quality of me is better. But my life is not easier, it's actually more challenging. But guess what? I'm also more effective, right? So the analogy I use is the gym for everything. Ted will like this. Okay, let's say I'm stronger, right? I got stronger. I worked on myself, got stronger. 400 pounds is heavier than 300. So just because I have a better physique and everyone thinks they want that physique, everybody wants to look great on the beach, but not everyone wants to bench press 350. Right? So if you want to look like Gronkowski, you have to also bench like Gronkowski. Right? And it just doesn't work that way. You have to want the process as much as you want the results. And I think that if people really shifted this, like, listen, if you want to be a multimillionaire, that's awesome. Okay, totally doable. But you have to also want, the hard work that goes with it. You have to want to have millionaire mentor meetings. You have to want to learn business. You have to want to listen to books and to podcasts. And to answer your original question, I'll tell this one last story, at least for this question. I was on the phone with a client recently, and she wants to do better financially. And I'm like, awesome. Health, wealth, and love. Perfect. I said, with all the love in the world, how many financial books have you read? And she's like, none. I said, okay, so you want to be wealthy, but you don't study wealth? I said, ask me, quick, ask me, same question. It's a little ego thing there. I'm like, this is an ego, but how many books have I said dozens. Okay. Why I'm succeeding more than you in finance is because I know more about finance than you. All those books are like $15. You can afford them, right? I'll send you the list. I'll send you the list of the books, right? Like, at the end of the day, you have to want the hard work more than you want the results. The results are a byproduct of the hard work. I have a mentor who used to be the CEO of like a bunch of different billion-dollar tech companies. Great guy, brilliant engineer. And he doesn't care at all about cars, guys. Never has, right? He cares about growing and buying and businesses and all that. He bought a Mercedes for like 85 grand or something. And I had this moment where I'm like, this guy doesn't even like cars. I know some people that would kill to have his car. The dude doesn't even care. The reason he can afford the car is because he wasn't focused on getting cars. See that dichotomy? It's kind of weird. He was focused on financial mastery. See, the car is a byproduct of financial mastery. He was passionate about financial mastery. Now he gets cars. People who are passionate about cars, depreciating assets, end up without any financial mastery most of the time, not always. But so hopefully that answers your original question. I think it's important for people to understand that your lifestyle is a byproduct, and my lifestyle is great right now. It's the best that it's ever been, but that's not my focus. My focus is how do I get better, because my lifestyle is a byproduct of that. And I hope that message really gets through, because I did not know that growing up. Genuinely, I didn't. I wish I did.
All right. So we are now about to go around the horn. And this is Ted's favorite part of the show. This is where we each leave that closing thought to help people to become unstoppable. So, Alan, just kind of based off of the theme of this show and what we've talked about, what is your closing thought that you want to leave the people with?
Okay. I got asked on a podcast a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, what does it mean to be next level? And I could only answer one way. It's who you are and what you're doing when no one's watching. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I love that you guys have me on. I really appreciate it. I do. I care more about how I treat my girlfriend when no one's watching, and I care more about my effort in the gym tonight than I do on this show. I swear to God. I actually care more about my own workout tonight than all of this glitz and glamour. And I'm telling you, if people can flip that script, because I'm not going to lie to you, before 26, I was focused on shiny objects. I wanted the nice car and the great six-figure job and the beautiful girlfriend, and I wanted all that stuff. Okay, and I was chasing it. The difference is now I focus on my own self-improvement, and then I let that other stuff attract to me. And the amazing woman that I have now, she's 27, her name's Emilia, greatest gift of my life. There's no way that the man at 26 could have attracted someone of this quality. So what it means to be next level, what it means to be unstoppable, is go all in on your own self-improvement, not from like a fake motivational way, but like actually your own self-improvement. And I think that you can let your lifestyle be a byproduct of that. And I promise you, if you get better, your whole world will get better by making more positive choices. That's the key. What you say is your responsibility. What you don't say is your responsibility. What you do is your responsibility. What you don't do is your responsibility. What you believe is your responsibility. What you choose not to believe is your responsibility. What you say, think, feel, do, and believe is all a choice. I was making those choices unconsciously at one point in my life. And then I got unconscious results. Now I'm making those choices consciously, and yeah, I still fail. Yeah, I still screw up. Yeah, I'm still tired. Yeah, I still, fail forward. But now I'm making those choices consciously every single day. And the very, very, very last thing I'll say about being unstoppable is that remember this, everyone's doing their best. Not everyone is bettering their best. And if you can really understand that one little distinction, I was always doing my best, guys. I wasn't a bad guy. I had pure intentions. I was aiming high. I want to be a good person. I wasn't bettering my best, not consciously. So everyone's doing their best. I don't even care if your best isn't great. Do your best, better your best. So this episode, if I'm even reasonably good right now, guys, it's because of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other times I've done this. Okay? Thousands of coaching calls. 850 podcasts between ours and others, hundreds of speeches. If I'm reasonable at this, it's because of the reps. It's not because I was born talented. And I think that's what it means to be next level.
This is why. I hate this part of the show. I do, because I knew that I was going to have to follow you. I knew I was going to follow someone that's done this like 700 sometimes. And you just drop boulder after boulder after boulder of just, they can't even call it nuggets, just meteor, rights of just stuff. And I'm supposed to be trying to follow that. One thing I'm just going to say is I just think some people are just built differently. Like, that's what I just believe. Some people are just built differently, right? And how they deal with, adversity. Some people, they take it, they grow from it, and they better themselves. And then there's some that just crumble from it, right? And just listening to you and things that you've gone through, and your partner and other guests that we've had, when you had a situation like, the pandemic, it was like, okay, let's sit down, let's figure it out. Like, we've been through stuff before. Stuff happens. We didn't know it was going to be this, but the approach is still going to be the approach. We're going to strategize. We're going to figure out how we're going to come out of this, and then we're just going to go forward with it. And that's if one thing that, I guess, if they didn't get before, they should, get now outside of going to the gym, right? You got to go to the gym.
Got to.
You got to go to the gym, or you just won't have those abs to die for. But yeah, you just have to be able to deal with adversity. You have to know that sometimes, you're going to be dealt cards a certain way that you weren't expecting. And when that happens, you got to be resilient. You got to come up with your plan, and you just got to move. You just got to go forward. So, this is just another episode that highlighted that. And so, again, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind me saying one more thing real quick. At the tail end of one of my speeches.
Sure you can, because Eric is going to follow. So you say whatever you want to say. If there's something you've been wanting to try that that it is like earth-shattering, now is the time to drop it.
All right. I'm all in. I love it. So at the end of one of my speeches, it was an early speech when I was pretty terrible, quite frankly. It was a fitness speech, but I still think the message was good, even though my delivery sucked. At the end of it, I put up a slide, and I had all the text on the slides, right? It's like rookie move. And I'm just like reading off them. But I loved what I read. It was, I do not wish for you to have an easy life. I wish for you to have a challenging and deeply meaningful one. Everyone out there right now, I'm certain of one thing. First of all, you have a spotless future. Awesome. Spotless future. Second, you have adversity in your future. No matter what. Health challenge, family challenge, financial challenge, you have adversity in your future. That's a guarantee. Okay? How big or how little or how often or how much, frequency, intensity, duration, all that, I don't know. But you have adversity in your future. I'm certain of it. Same with me. Okay? And yeah, I'm a little scared. Here's what I know for sure. I'm going to do everything I can when that adversity strikes to be the very best that I can, to learn as much as I can from it, and to make me a more virtuous, better man from it. Because I've made mistakes. I have shame and guilt and remorse and regret. I've not been perfect, but I've gotten better every time. I've always gotten better. One way or another, somehow I've gotten better, no matter how hard it was. And that's all it is. I don't want you to have an easy life. I want you to have a deeply meaningful life. And I think meaning comes from growth and contribution. It comes from overcoming adversity, overcoming challenge, growing into more and giving more. And if you can end your life knowing you gave everything you had and you did everything you could, I mean, that's when your head hits the pillow, and that's when you're fulfilled. I think we're all here to maximize our own unique potential, and our own greatest level of contribution. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to maximize my own potential and help others do the same. And that's all we can do. The rest is gravy.
The rest is gravy. See, Ted, now I've got a tough act to follow for sure. For my around the horn piece. And when I think about my around the horn, it goes back to something you said about really focusing more on the self-improvement process than the prize or the shiny prize. And I study like these successful coaches, right? You know, like I look at Nick Saban at Alabama in football, and I've studied and read things on John Wooden. And here's with basketball, UCLA won 10 national championships. So both of them, they won like the most championships. But the one thing they had in common is they didn't talk to their team about winning the championship. Like that was not their focus. And the people that were around them will say they never heard them say, hey, we're going to go out here and win the championship. Now, I just thought that's crazy. They won the most championships. They don't talk about winning the championship. They talk about the process. They talk about how are we going to block? How are we going to practice? What time we're going to wake up? What time? This just the necessary things that you need to do. And so much so, like if you ever watch like Nick Saban with Alabama and his players, it's almost like they're brainwashed. If you ask one of them about, hey, do you think you guys are going to win the national championship? They all say the same thing. It's all, well, we're just focused on the process. We just want to show up and we just want to do the right things. And if we do that, the results going to take care of itself. And I think that's key. And that goes back to what you said. I think we just really need to be focused on getting better. And I think the results will come.
Super powerful. Yeah. I've studied a lot of John Wooden myself as well. I really like his philosophy. His TED Talk is awesome. Have you guys seen his TED Talk?
No.
If you got to. Oh, you got to. He's in his 80s. He's awesome. I think he passed away since. I think he's passed. R.I.P.
Yeah, he's passed away.
His TED Talk's great. I have it saved on my one of my playlists. Yeah, it's called Alan's Morning Mindset Playlist. It's like on the tail end. There's like 120 videos in there, but his TED Talk's fire. Great. It's great.
Yeah, they say like even like in his early 90s when he was doing speeches, like he would literally go back, listen and watch his performances and score himself and say what he needed to do better. And
it's the only way.
Just exceptional. And that's why he got the results that he got.
Yep.
Definitely some lessons there. Well, definitely we want to thank Alan Lazaros for coming on and sharing what he shared with our audience. So Alan, how can people connect with you?
Well, my camera's about to die, so I know, hopefully it doesn't cut out right now. Next Level University. We're on every podcast platform. We're on YouTube. The website is nextleveluniverse.com because we're more than just a podcast. Nextleveluniverse.com. If you do check out any of the episodes, in the show notes, you'll find my contact information, my email, my Instagram, my Facebook, my LinkedIn. Please reach out. Between my assistant and I, we literally get back to everyone. I don't know if I'll always be able to do that, but I do know I can right now. And I'm super excited to connect. Ted's like, yeah, I gotta get it. I'm going to get a DM from Ted at like 2 a.m. Hey man, I'm in the gym.
I can't sleep. I'm at the gym.
I'm at the gym. I love it.
Put up 500. Put up 500 pounds.
Oh, no kidding. I can't wait. Send me a video.
With a lot of help.
Yeah. With like 4 people on each side, right?
That's right.
That's where you can find me. Please reach out. Genuinely. If this resonated, Next Level University is something you'd love. So
Fantastic. Well, again, thank you to Alan Lazaros. And for everybody, don't forget to share the show.
Share the show. Share the show.
Hopefully we made you laugh, learn, and helped you to level up. And don't forget, you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can listen to a replay of this outstanding episode and check us out there. So this has been an amazing episode. Again, thank you, Alan. This is Not Your Everyday Podcast. We look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, have a great one.
Talk to you soon.